Convening the regular meeting of December 4, 2013 of the Oregon City Commission. Would you please stand and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have 3 certificates. I don't believe the ladies are here to receive them, but they're the Girl Scout Gold Awards, which is the highest achievement a girl can earn in scouting. And the certificate's going to be awarded to Elisa Johnson, and she's receiving this award for addressing the need for gently used books in her community. When her book drive resulted in over 500 donated books, she instructed and organized volunteers to clean and restore the donated books that were then distributed to local children and veterans organizations. The next award, again for this medal, is Girl Scout Gold Medal, is for Madison Tretico. Madison received this award for attacking the serious environmental issues of invasive plants at Tryon Creek State Park by doubling the number of ivy pulled monthly. Madison created a presentation which she presented at schools to encourage and increase the number of volunteers. As a result of this, she directly organized 3 new ivy pulls, averaging more than 30 people at each event. And thirdly, Hallie Lycan. She's received this award for organizing and directed a workshop at her community's Gay Straight Alliance Conference. The workshop addressed concerns that LGBTQ youth often feel that they must hide within their community, turning the tables on the masks they feel in society expects them to wear. Her workshop encouraged participants to design and build a mask that express who they really are. All 3 of these Girl Scouts live in Oregon City, and we'll be sending these in to one of the Girl Scout leaders for them to distribute. I wanted to get a hold of them ahead of time, but for privacy reasons, they don't give the addresses, but they did inform me of the certificates. So, with that,
congratulations, girls.
Yeah, yes,
good job.
Before we go to our next presentation, I did want to make an announcement. There have been various fundraisers for Officer Lipke, and one of them that's being organized is coming up on December 10th, 2013. I believe that's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. The time is from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The event's at McLaughlin Place, and that's 1153 Malala Avenue, Oregon City. And there'll be various people there to serve pancakes. Each breakfast is suggested an $8, with all money being going into the Lipke Fund. However, they'll be more than happy to accept more than $8. With that, we're going to have a Planning Commission annual report from Chair Kidwell.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good
evening.
Charles Kidwell, Planning Commission Chair, and I was asked to just give a brief summary of the activities and considerations of the Planning Commission during this past year. So I just prepared an outline that I'll run through quickly, and then if you have any questions or comments, then I can go through those afterward. Started off the year in January. We had a Planning Commissioner training session that was presented by the City Attorney. We had officers re-elected. I was re-elected as the Planning Commission Chair, and Denise McGriff was re-elected as the Vice Chair. We heard a number of different issues. To begin the year, we were first presented the Clackamas County Master Plan for the Red Soils District, and that was initially presented in January and was not finally passed until I think couple months later. We also had some work sessions early in the year. Mr. Conkle presented us Oregon City Municipal Code issues that deal with public noticing for land use applications and related issues that he wanted the Planning Commission to be aware of for our business. We were given updates on the progress of the South End concept plan, the sign code, and the ongoing effort related to the Blue Heron site. And then early in the year, we started consideration of the transportation plan and had numerous updates on that. In February, we were first given consideration of the Pavilion Park Phase 2 subdivision and zone change request, and then again considered the Clackamas County master plan for the Red Soils district area. One of the points I wanted to mention related to the Pavilion Park subdivision request was that this was an issue that really gained a lot of attention by the people in that neighborhood. The Tower Vista neighborhood had a lot of interest in what was happening there and the increased density. And the co-chair of the Tower Vista Neighborhood Association read a letter from the association indicating that they were concerned about the language in the city code in the comprehensive plan related to how maximum densities were considered for development. And so he specifically requested that the language be reviewed to balance the factors related to density issues with the local considerations for that particular neighborhood. And he was suggesting that that be applied on a citywide basis, not just for their particular neighborhood. The transportation plan continued to be an item of discussion through March, April, and then finally in May that was adopted or passed for consideration to the city commissioners. The Red Soils master plan was finally approved in April, and then in April we also heard a proposal on the Gardner Middle School for modular classrooms, and then finished up with the transportation master plan, and then also concluded the matter on the Pavilion Park subdivision. We also heard the Willamette Falls Legacy project that was presented to us initially to the Planning Commission and then to a joint session of the City Council and the Planning Commission. We also looked at the South End concept plan at various stages, and that's now coming to us as a formal application this next session that we'll have. It covers most of the main items that we had consideration. I feel like the Planning Commission is a real good mix of different people with different personalities and different points of view, and we've, I think, blended those different points of view very well over the last couple of years, and it seems to be a real positive and strong group of people working together with the goal of what's best for Oregon City and its residents, and I feel like the Planning Commission has represented the citizens of Oregon City very well over the past year.
Thank you. We appreciate the work the Planning Commission does. You in some cases act as a buffer. Of course, things can be appealed to us. I did have a question for Tony, since he's up here. The densities that we identify, that comes through the comprehensive plan. Is that not correct?
The comprehensive plan identifies low-density residential, medium-density residential, high-density residential. And then our zoning code, we have a two-system mapping. And then our zone code is more specific, and that's actually codified. So, for example, the low-density residential could be R8, R10 single-family, which is a 10,000 square foot lot, R8, which is an 8,000 square foot lot, or R6, which is a 6,000 square foot lot. And so those zones themselves are codified, and for 10,000 square foot lot is roughly 4.4 units per acre. Yes.
When those sizes are specified, do they include the right-of-ways that are taken from them, or are those actual buildable lots of that size?
That's net. So it takes out right-of-way, steep slopes, natural resource areas. So it would be the net development.
I've heard complaints about densities as well concerning R6, but that's essentially a 100 by 60 foot lot, isn't it? I mean, it might be a different dimension, but basically that's the area you're talking about.
Correct.
And that is actually the net size.
Correct. That is the actual size of the lot. Yes.
And those are the kind of lots I was raised in, and most of my homes I've lived in were about that size.
Mm-hmm. The one exception would be we tried to incentivize the use of alleys for rear-loaded lots, so we did allow part of the alley, if someone decided to be counted. So, for example, if you had an R6 lot, you have a 20-foot alley down the back. You'd have two lots back to back, so 10 foot of that. So then you'd end up with about a 5,000 square foot lot.
And that would be done at the development stage.
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm. But typically, all of our right-of-way is dedicated right-of-way, so there's no right-of-way in, like a street in the front isn't included in the lot size.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you very much.
That, I'm going to pick on your, I got a sheet here. So that's all right.
There you go.
Very good. There we go. Very good. With that, we'll go ahead and take any citizen comments for items not on the agenda. And on the floor, we have nobody listed yet. Going. The adoption of the agenda. Anybody want to pull any items? So there's consent to adopt the agenda. Okay.
Yep.
That will go into general business and Urban Renewal Commission member appointment. We've agreed on a process, and the process is we had 7 excellent candidates.
Very good.
We were just really pleased. The Urban Renewal Commission, in the time I've been on it, has varied from the 5 city commission members to 10 city commissioner members to 5 city commission members to 10 city commission members, and then, well, not commission members, total members, I should say. And then we've brought it down now to 7. That's the 5 city commission members plus 2. So it's a very great deal. If we still have the 10-member commission, we'd be able to fill all the positions, right? But we don't. So what that means is we have to go through a process of election. And what we're going to do is each one of us are going to do independent ballots. We'll be submitting them to the city recorder. We'll be voting for the 2 positions, writing the names. Any candidate in this first go-around of the ballot that gets 3 votes will be, in fact, coming to the city, will be then appointed. If we don't have 3 votes on any one of them, then we'll go to a second ballot with the largest number from the votes going on to the second ballot. And so that's about what we're going to do. I get my cheat sheet here. Well, I can look at my list too.
Nobody has to leave yet.
We're going to have a staff report, but maybe I did it.
You did.
Did I do the staff
I think
report?
you did it.
Yeah, okay.
Good
Well,
job.
that was our determination, so that's okay. Anything else to add?
I can't think of anything.
Very good. Did you know how many commissions members we've had over the history of the thing?
How many we've had over the past year?
No, over the past, for me, it's, total of 18 years.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's
that would
very
be a
great
big
deal.
number. Mhm.
Derek, do you spell your name with one or two L's? Somebody misspelled it up here. It wasn't me.
That's funny.
Anyway. Sorry. So,
Don't look at me.
Did you spell it wrong?
I can spell my name.
gotta check his application. Okay. Hold him and pass him to you? Doesn't matter.
Either way.
We'll all know
Doesn't have to
anyway,
be.
but that's how he voted.
It's all
but
public record.
Anyway,
It's all public.
so this is a public vote. It's just that we're voting independently. We'll not have to wait until the next morning to find out what the vote is, however.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do we have any people that have 3 votes?
yes, we have one person, we have one person with 3 votes, and that is Renata Mengelberg.
Okay. So we'll be creating a new ballot, I presume.
That's correct. And then we have 3 people with 2 votes. So we'll need to do a second ballot
Okay, very good.
with those 3. And those 3 are, and you'll need to choose one from that.
Okay.
Derek Benville, Paul Edgar, and Ed Lindquist. So I'm
Okay.
going to send you one more. And if you could put your name at the top.
I just have mine up.
You just messed yours up.
Well, just mark
Don't-
it off.
It's bright.
Don't give us a missing Chad or whatever the thing is called.
Yeah. Hanging Chad. We got one more coming?
Yeah. Are we to divulge who voted for whom?
It'll be in the minutes. I can read
Okay,
whatever you'd like.
We'll just after we get the votes. Because this was an issue, if you recall, the CIC insisting on the public record occurring at the meeting. So we'll need to do that here too.
Oh, sure.
Okay, we have, it's down to 2,
Okay.
and it's Derek Benville and Paul Edgar. Each received 2, so we need to do one more.
All right.
And, or-
There you go.
with you.
I want no part of that.
Good idea. We hope it doesn't come down to something like that. Might have a coin flip.
Somebody that abstained.
Doubtful.
I can do this one right.
Oh, I see. Okay, we have 3 votes for Derek Benville and 2 for Paul Edgar.
Well, congratulations and thank you for all the applications. It was, it was a great group to
Yes.
select from.
Very good.
We're really pleased with the applications that came in.
Yes.
They all had, I think, good, I don't know if they're called resumes or not, but good descriptions of their individual interest and experiences. And I don't think we could have gone wrong with any of them, actually. And
No.
so I see we do have Derek here. Derek, congratulations.
Congratulations, Derek.
Well, I know your involvement in the community will continue.
Yes,
in any
it
case.
will. We will continue to hear from you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we need to decide on the terms?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, and
I thought you were going to chat with each one to see if
I
they,
could do that, but
Yeah.
then there was mention of a flip of a coin.
I
so
think the easiest thing is one will be a 2-year,
one will be 2, one will be 4.
One.
one will be 4. You know, well, we got Derek here. We can flip the coin and have him call heads or tails. see whether he wins or not. And we'll nickname him Lovejoy or Pettigrew. And we could do that. That might be the easiest way to do it. Now, are there term limits?
No.
So it's not an issue of how long a given person could possibly be on the Urban Renewal Commission.
Cool.
So I don't think there's a negative associated with it.
no, I don't think so. They would just have to rerun.
Who has an honest coin?
I have a coin.
Oh, the police chief.
Oh, the police chief.
You're the coin. You do get to do something here.
Determined
And he,
Yay.
Derek, you call it. He's going to flip it. You call it after he flips it. See if you get any vibes from the
Very
flip.
scientific.
And then you get to choose your number of years.
I already flipped it.
Oh, you did? Head.
Heads.
Okay. Now, what do you want?
2 or 4?
2 or 4?
I'll take the 4.
Okay. Very
All
good.
right, thank you. That was very
Look at
scientific.
you like my quarter.
Are you sure it's a quarter, not a nickel? He's giving you back.
These are important to me. I have paid 4 $20 tickets this last year to Oregon City, and so I need to keep my quarters. Okay, with that, we'll go on to the next item on our agenda, which is the,
Oh, do we need to say who we voted for?
yeah, give that list. We should have, on just those 2 candidates.
Okay. Hold on one second.
Or do you want us to come back to it?
Nope, I can do that right away. Betty Mum voted for, you mean at the final, at the end?
Yeah.
For Derek Benville. Carol Pauley voted for Derek Benville. Kathy Roth voted for Paul Edgar. Rocky Smith voted for Paul Edgar, and Doug Neely voted for Derek Benville.
On the other vote?
And on the other one, for Renata, we have 1 vote from Doug Neely, 1 vote from Rocky Smith, and Carol Pauley.
Okay, thank you. It is a public vote. The only reason for us doing it individually is rather than putting a motion and go through a bunch of names and say A and A,
Yeah.
we felt the best way to do it. But the intent was to always have it as a public vote that is transparent, so.
Do we have a time that our voting mechanism is going to be fixed?
Right, well, it goes faster with the voice vote, so anyway, I don't know if we want to get that thing fixed.
It's a matter of discussion. I'd like to have that discussion with you, maybe at the next work session we can ask about.
Okay, very good. And this might be one of our shortest. Am I missing something? Well,
I don't know.
of course, we're going to meet
We have a
afterwards, but
meeting after.
in any case, we got general business.
on the
That's the
consent
wrong one,
agenda.
excuse me.
Move to approve
Yeah.
consent
We moved to
agenda.
approve.
Second.
Yes, thank you. The roll call, please.
Commissioner Pauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mum?
Aye.
Commissioner Roth?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Neely?
Aye. Okay, with that, we'll go to the city manager for his report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of things tonight.
just confirm with Scott Archer, you saw him walk over, that we have received another grant for the Ermitinger House from the from the Kinsman Foundation.
Great.
Now it's a small amount; it's only $5,000,
We'll take it.
but that's what we said.
Uh-oh.
So,
Wait a minute, I think we missed.
No, that's on the consent agenda.
Oh, that's on the consent. Okay,
Yeah.
never
Yeah,
mind. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was getting excited.
Scared?
so 5,000 more for Ermitinger. Congratulations, Scott.
Yay. So where does that put us?
That proves to me that if we're looking for grants as small as that our park staff are really scouring every crevice
Yeah.
to try to get the money. So Scott, thank you to you and your staff for
Yeah,
that
that's
effort.
great. Let me, I should
Where does
mention,
that
if I
put
might
us?
follow up, I did speak to Mayor Hales, and did not get the reply directly from him, but from a staff member, that they were not able to, and of course, they've had some issues with funding there in terms of having to replace funds and so forth. They found that they had additional funds that they thought above their budget, and they found out that they had taken funds from places they shouldn't have, and then they had to put those monies back there.
I
So-
read about that.
Yeah, so that they just probably weren't in a position to.
Yeah, I know about it.
You know about it. Is it your
You
fault?
know about that, do you?
Did you mess up our if we do need some money?
You know, Mayor, you mentioned that, but I haven't given up on the possibility of the recreation of the coin toss that we've all discussed from time to time, and maybe by the time that event rolls around, to
Yeah, I
encourage
haven't given up
Portland to
on the
come.
money.
Yeah, because I've seen those things happen where they bring the large rubber check, and sometimes that doesn't happen until the actual event. So I don't think we're
Well,
giving up
if
on.
we're gonna redo the coin toss, and it could go to Boston.
Who knows?
Maybe see donations from Boston, see what they're willing to
Not a bad idea.
Where does that
Okay,
put-
I have
where
a
does
couple
that
more
put our
items.
total?
Okay, go ahead.
Can I ask a question first? Wait a minute.
Yes.
Where does that put our total?
We're still, well, of course, we're waiting on the county to write the check, because they made that commitment through the Community Development Block Grant. We're within 100,000 now, aren't we?
Not quite, but almost that. Yeah, we're getting pretty close. If the commission wanted, we could give
Yeah.
a follow-up report. I don't have that information right
Yeah,
away.
that's
Okay,
I think.
thank you.
It's got to be close.
I think this ought to be one of the things that we talk about at our half-day retreat or whatever it is, because it is in our 2-year goals, and Rocky might be comfortable. He's got another 2 years here, but after this year, but I don't, and it's one of those things that I would like to see started.
Well, you know, there never hurts to talk about it and reiterate your commitment to it, but we're all acting on the assumption that every one of those goals in there, until they're changed, we're pressing on to
Right.
try to accomplish all of them.
Exactly.
So,
I can tell you, I'm sorry, David, excuse me, but that per our, David just mentioned the Community Development Block Grant, which is administered by the county. They, as a requirement of us accepting those funds, I think I've told you this before, they actually have to administer the contract for the project. We still oversee the project and so forth, but we are still planning to put the project out to bid in the spring, this coming spring, and kind of dependent on closing that little bit of funding gap that we've got, and then depending on where the actual numbers come back on the bids, we'll possibly be under construction by this summer. So we are still moving in that
Great.
direction.
Great. That's good to hear.
So I also want to announce that on Tuesday, this is just a reminder to you and to members of the community, on Tuesday, December 10th, there's going to be a joint Planning Commission and City Commission work session on the Willamette Falls Legacy Project right here. And that's a big, exciting project. We're hoping for lots of people to pay attention to that. Also, Thursday, December 12th, the Willamette Falls Legacy Project will host its third interactive community event from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Ainsworth House, which is located at 19130 Lot Whitcomb Drive in Oregon City. This is an opportunity for the public to participate in a review of in-depth demonstration field plans of final concepts that are based on community feedback from this fall. And this is based on the tens of thousands. We'll actually have, well, not tens of thousands, but several thousand responses. We'll have a firm number for you later this month. existing conditions and the summer outreach process to and interact with fellow community members, project partners, and consultants to discuss concepts as they relate to the core values of the public access, economic redevelopment, healthy habitats, and historical and cultural interpretation on the site. Also, Tuesday, December 10th, well, I've already mentioned the Willamette Falls Legacy Project at City Hall. I think that wraps up the announcements. And then last meeting I talked to you about, I mentioned that Eric, small department, had finished the business toolkit, but I gave you the not easy to read version. So tonight I have the official version, all
nice.
glossy and done
Upside
for
down.
you.
It's
That
upside
is
down.
great.
There you go. And literally, it's still got a lot of information in it, but this is such a great step-by-step guide for somebody who has an entrepreneurial spirit or an idea, but they're not sure how to put it into practice. I also think this toolkit could be good for existing businesses that may want to brush up on some of their business planning and other preparations for the future, so to retain our businesses. And then there's lots of helpful information on the back. So we have copies for each of you. If
Nice.
you get questions, you might keep that for reference. In fact, if you get questions from people about economic development in Oregon City, thank you again, Eric, for that accomplishment. And that's all I have.
Very good. Well, I guess the other thing I'd report on is David and I have been meeting these about once a month meetings, maybe not quite that, with Chair Ludlow, Clackamas, the Clackamas Commission, Clackamas County Commission. To my knowledge, we have not had this city for maybe several years had regular meetings on this level, so I do appreciate the availability of Chair Ludlow. We were discussing Tri-City sewer rates. I don't know that the discussion was productive in some ways, but there's an indication that they plan to come to us with exactly how those monies are intended to be used at the plant. I think that's somewhat, most of us, I don't think, know what that future use of those funds are going to be. We had a 16% raise, and they're projecting several 8% raises over the next 5 years. And I think it's critical that we understand what those are for. As I think everybody that's gotten their sewer bills of late realize that we have identified on those utility bills, they're not water bills, only water is a part of that. Utility bills, what those monies are being collected for. Some of them are for city services, like the drinking water pipes that bring the water from the treatment plant to here, as well as the sewer and wastewater pipes that the city owns. But we also have Tri-City facilities that's county run, for which we are billed, and we also have South Fork, for which we are billed, which is a different entity as well. So we identify those to make sure that if we start getting complaints on the South Fork, the Tri-City part of the bill, that staff can direct them to the right people to complain to, and it isn't us. So and I think that is it for my report. Any others? I'll start way to my left.
Excuse me, Mayor,
This
did you,
direction.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You had a couple of appointments?
Oh, heavens, yes. My apologies. You don't be apologetic for interrupting. We're appointing Henry McEnroth to the Transportation Advisory Committee to fill the current at-large position, and also William Gifford to the Transportation Advisory Committee to fill the current Neighborhood Association position vacancy. These are not the new positions opening up next year. These are positions that are have been open. We have several people that will be appointed to new positions after the beginning of the year. We also have positions that are still available simply because not enough people applied for the new openings that are coming up. And we'll be announcing those at the beginning of the year. And my intention is to go to the CIC to take the list of the number of positions to their first meeting in January. Are you going to have a meeting on the first Monday of January at the CIC?
The third
CIC. Yeah, it's like the 7th, I want to say.
It's on the 7th? So,
Or
we'll be
the
go-
6th.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
yeah, CIC will be going to that meeting to inform all the representatives from the neighborhood associations that we have those particular positions open. So those are positions that were not filled by the end of the year of current positions. With that, Carol Pauly.
Yes, the Main Street Annual Meeting is going to be held Tuesday, December 10th at the Verdict Holding Cell, and that's 9 a.m. until noon. So that is the same day as the Officer Lapee's Pancake Breakfast fundraiser. So go to that first, that's 7 to 9, and then come down to the Verdict Holding Cell, and it'll get everybody a chance to get to know Jonathan Stone, our new Main Street executive, better, and to give their input and see what's going on there. We are doing elections for 2 board members, and we only have 3 applicants so far. So I encourage people to, really get out there. People say they want to be more involved. Apply. It'd be great to have a big pool to choose from, like we tend to up here, which is fantastic. So again, that is Tuesday, December 10th at the Verdict Holding Cell from 9 until noon, and make sure you go to the pancake breakfast first so you're nice and full. Thank you.
Could you remind me, I know I have it in my calendar, David, but the joint Planning Commission, City Commission meeting,
It's
what
on
time
the
that's
10th.
at?
December 10th.
Yep.
Same day.
No, to what time?
5:30.
5:30?
5 o'clock starts the regular work session, and then it's scheduled at 6 o'clock for the joint work session. Hopefully we can start at 6. We have several things on the regular work session agenda. But
Yeah, okay. Then, Betty, do you have a report?
Well, the mayor and Commissioner Smith and I attended the South Fork Water Board meeting, and the whole Clackamas River water and Sunrise Corridor, and I don't know if maybe, our attorney maybe wants to speak to that, or because that's becoming a big mess, I think.
Sure, I'll give the nickel summary real quick, and go back just a little bit in history. If you remember, about 2005, although it goes back even further, but most recently, 2005, Clackamas River Water, CRW, got Clackamas County to try to transform CRW into an authority. That had some real implications for the city because as the city annexes, it can withdraw territory from the district, and it has the right to provide water services to its citizens. A water authority, the city can't withdraw property from, and the CRW would continue to provide water. So there's some issues with being a full-service city. So the city challenged that, and we got the Metro Boundary Appeals Commission to overturn it. They have been trying to figure out a way to do that since then, and recently entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Sunrise Water Authority, where they created a new entity in an attempt to transfer that authority protection from withdrawal to this new entity. We're not really certain they can do that, and we're looking at our options about what to do about it. But right now there is a new entity that was created by an intergovernmental agreement between CRW and Sunrise Water Authority, and it has a number of things. That basically, CRW is going to provide some of their excess waters to Sunrise, and Sunrise is attempting to confer the authority status on this new entity. And how that shakes out is we'll find out in a few months, most likely.
Again, this is being taken to Metro one more time. Or who is the jurisdiction?
Most likely it's LUBA. The Metro Boundary Appeals Commission was where it went back in 2005. After that was done, Metro actually amended its code to get rid of the Metro Boundary Appeals Commission because I think the issues that came up in it were too thorny, and it turned out to be a process that Metro doesn't want to be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So most likely end up either at the Land Use Board of Appeals or at the Clackamas County Circuit Court.
But this could be a big
Big
problem for Oregon City.
Yes.
So I don't know, David. Do you know anything about? Maybe we could withdraw the Oregon City Homes. Is that the right word? That is in CRW. And
The territory that's within CRW
Within our
from
city limits.
CRW. And there are some issues with that. And I know the commission has talked about it, but it's been a few years since we visited this issue. But one of the things that having a portion of CRW's territory within the city gave the city some input into whether it could be transformed into an authority. And there are pluses and minuses of having that overlap, and it's something I don't know if it has to happen immediately, but it's something that this commission should revisit
We
and
should
think
be-
about how to deal with it.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but it was sort of independent of what the Sunrise thing is. There are already facilities that I think we already supply the water
Yes.
to ones that have withdrawn, but we haven't formally accepted that. And that's what you were talking
Yes.
about, I think.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't imagine that's as thorny an issue.
No, that's not a thorny issue. It's easy enough to do. It's a matter of identifying those territories and then passing either an ordinance or resolution. I have to go back and look at
That's,
that.
yeah, that's
But
what I was
it's sort of a policy issue of whether or not to do it.
yeah.
And I just want to remind the commission, I think you know this from our executive session discussions on this, but city staff here met several times with CRW staff, and we were also joined by South Fork to try to convince them that there's a way to avoid this litigation by sitting down with our city staff and looking at our mapping. And the geography in our city actually merits, I think, a collaboration between CRW and the city, because there are places where frankly, they are the better service provider because of the geography we have in Oregon City, and there are also places where it doesn't make sense for them to remain. And we wanted to do that with an engineering study through our Public Works Department. And we suggested that they suspend this, what I consider a fairly aggressive sort of end run around the previous decisions, to try to create this authority powers without doing that engineering study first.
Yeah.
Now, that would take a little bit longer, but it would be a fair, firm, and final decision that I think would serve the public better than litigation. However, they don't seem to be convinced. I think you attended a couple of meetings with trying to convince them, but they do have an agenda, and I think we're just going to have an answer to the question, again, maybe from a different entity, but ultimately I think we still will hope for that engineered solution, because that's really what we need to do.
And I know, David, you've been in meetings with South Fork regularly with John and
Oh,
stuff.
it's terrific to work.
So is there anything that we should be doing at the commission level to, like, try and stop them besides, I mean, kind of what's it going to look like if they go forth and do this
Well, it's
district?
going to look like litigation
Okay.
between the city, with the city and South Fork on one side,
Yes.
and CRW and potentially others on the other side. I mean,
So part of that will be an impact to the city funds, and part of it will be an impact to South Fork. Is that kind of
That's
what
correct.
I'm hearing? Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
And certainly an impact to CRW as well.
Right.
Right, and
Right.
they have a history of being somewhat litigious. I thought that might have abated some since their last round of publicity they had last year, but they still have some of the same personnel and apparently the same philosophy. And I, as a recovering attorney, think litigation isn't always the best answer to these kinds of problems,
Right.
but
And it's
sometimes it's the only answer.
It's rarely the best answer if you've got two public entities, but sometimes there's no other choice.
So is there anything else that you guys can think of that we should be doing as a commission? Do we need to talk about it at a work session? Do we need to have South Fork come over and meet with all of us? Because I know Commissioner Roth and Polly have not been in these
Right.
meetings. Or should there just be a presentation? I mean, I think it's a pretty big,
It
pretty
is.
big thing.
And it may be something to put on a work session.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'd leave it with
Yeah.
the city manager, but I think the discussion about withdrawal is something that, in the relative near term, the city ought to think about.
Consider, yeah.
If there's any way to build relationships with CRW,
Actually, our meetings with them have been pleasant and cordial and personable during the meetings, and then they go out and just put these things on the agenda. We see them on there. Usually Bill looks at it, calls me up and says, well, guess what's happening now? So we have even meetings with them where they tell us they're not going to do what they end up doing.
Right.
So as far as South Fork and how much of this actually gets debated on the floor here or discussed, keep in mind that if we are going to go into litigation, there's going to need to be a litigation strategy, and
Right.
you don't want to reveal that
Right.
necessarily.
No.
There will be a time and when I think it's entirely appropriate. There won't be any downside to revealing your strategy because it's going to be in the pleadings.
Right.
But until that occurs, probably wouldn't recommend a public
Okay.
disclosure of your litigation strategy.
Sure.
Because that could change
Sure.
as well. But we are cooperating fully with South Fork. Chris Crean, their attorney, has been just wonderful for us to work with, and so is John. So
Okay. I just wanted to kind of bring that up because I think it's a very important issue for us.
yeah.
So I don't know if there was anything else that we needed to talk about at South Fork. Did you or Rob, you have anything? That was the only other.
No, but
That was all I had. Okay, thank you.
Kathy? Do you have any? Skip? And then Rocky?
some announcements. I was going to give some announcements about some holiday events happening. But first of all, last year, I think this started last year, but now it seems annually that USA Today is doing a competition or a voting to find out who or what two cities have the biggest high school rivalry in the nation.
Well, you know we do.
And-
We applied. Right?
And last year, Oregon City and Westland made it past the state level and into the regional level, and I think we lost it there before the national level. And that's where we're at right now. So we were voted, actually 92.8% of the votes that went in basically were for Oregon City Westland's rivalry at the state level. So that's pretty amazing. Now we're at the Region 8 level, which is basically all the West Coast states. And right now we have Oregon City Westland has about 30-some% of the votes, and the other 60-some percent, there's like maybe 6 or 7 rivalries. So 60% is these two schools from California, and the other 30% is us, and then little percentages for the rest of the schools. So we're in second place for the regional level. If we can keep voting, encourage everyone in the city to vote. You can go to our school's website, which is ochspioneers.org, and there's a link to the voting website. You can vote as many times as you want.
Oh, really?
You can sit on your computer for an hour or 2 hours and just keep entering it.
And what was that website again?
Okay, our website, the school's website, Oregon City, ochspioneers.org, and there's a link on the front of our website to theirs. So voting for this section or this level goes till 12 p.m. Eastern Time on December 10th. And then we'll bump up to the national level if we can catch up to Anaheim, some school in Anaheim. I think these cities are way bigger than ours in Westland, so I think it's going to be hard to catch up, but we're going to try. December 7th is Heritage Holidays. There's open houses at Stevens Crawford House, the Rose Farm Museum. I think Stephen Crawford is 10 to 4, and Rose Farm is 12 to 4. The tree lighting is on December 7th downtown, 4:30. Is that right?
Yes.
I
Thank
think-
you. I forgot that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also on December 7th and 8th is Oregon City Schools annual book fair, which is at the Barnes and Noble at Clackamas Town Center. Percentage of all the purchases for the weekend of the 7th and 8th, percentage goes back to buy school books for Oregon City libraries, schools, or school libraries. Also, December 7th is a benefit concert at Abernathy Chapel to raise money for the band, and that is on December 7th. I don't remember what time that's at. The information's on the school website, $25 at the door. Did I say Michael Allen Harrison? Michael Allen Harrison always does a kind of a holiday concert to benefit the band. December 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th is 1941 Christmas from Home. It's our holiday musical at the high school. I will be helping with that. It's at 7:30, $9. It's a story about Oregon radio station and a live broadcast to the troops during World War II in 1941. It's written by a Portland playwright who has also come to the school and met with the cast, and that should be a good play. The Oregon City High School Choir has been performing. They are in a performance with the what is the Christmas tree? Singing Christmas Tree. I can't remember what night they did that. They performed that already.
They were amazing.
But you can see our choir again December 17th at the Grotto at 6 p.m. Then their choir concert is December 18th, 7 p.m. at the high school. Pioneer Pageant at the high school, which is another holiday event. It's a competition between students raising money for bare necessities, and that's December 19th at the high school. And on December 26th, our band leaves to perform both in the field show and the parade at the the Orange Bowl in Florida. So our band will be representing us in Florida. That's pretty exciting. And that's it on that.
I was so proud at the Singing Christmas Tree to have our choir perform.
Yeah, it was cool.
They did such an outstanding job, and everybody around me, they were just taken aback by how good they were, and I was so proud to be from Oregon City.
Very cool.
Very cool.
With that, any other items for the good of the order?
Executive session.
Hearing that, adjourning the city commission meeting, we will be